Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and well, we're on to week 2 of Tides of War Lightning Strikes now, and this week's reward was the gun that you can see right here, the MAS 44, which is a fairly obscure French semi-automatic rifle that I'd never heard of before, but thankfully turns out to be pretty damn good in-game. This one is for the Assault kit again, and as we'll find out, it's got a lot in common with one of my other favourite Assault SLRs, the Turner SMLE. So the question is, what makes the MAS 44 different, and is it worth using? Well, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to get into right now. Alright, so to kick off, like I said, the MAS 44 is a French semi-automatic rifle that was designed and produced in small numbers during World War II. And probably the most important thing you need to know about this gun is that it eventually evolved into the MAS 49 a few years later, which went on to become the standard issue service rifle of the French Army. Now, obviously, the reason why the MAS 44 never entered widespread service itself is because for most of the war, France was occupied by the Germans. And I think one of the most interesting things about the story of this gun is that during the occupation, the French hid its design from the Germans so well that after the war, they actually had to reverse engineer it to be able to build it again themselves. Now, in-game, the MAS 44 is already being called one of the best SLRs because, like I said before, in a lot of ways it's very similar to the already popular Turner SMLE. For example, it's got the same 360 RPM rate of fire and almost the same damage model, dealing 45 max damage out to 25 meters, which drops off to 28 damage at about 75 meters. What this translates to is a 3-shot kill minimum and a 4-shot kill max, which only kicks in at about a respectable 50 meters. And I mean, apart from it being slightly easier to control, most of its other stats are almost identical to the Turner as well, except for a slightly faster muzzle velocity of 820 meters per second compared to the Turner, which only clocks in at about 700. So what does that all mean in game? Well, it means that just like the Turner, this is going to be a gun that's best suited for more experienced players. Because with that kind of damage model and that rate of fire, well, you can pretty much outshoot just about any other gun in the game, but only, and this is really important, if you're accurate. It's only got a capacity of 10 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, and with no ability to extend that at all, you're going to burn through that pretty quickly. And so I think what you'll find is the actual shooting itself is the easy bit, and it's the reloading all the time that's going to be what gets you killed. Not just that, but beyond 50 meters, well, needing that one extra bullet to kill can be a pretty big weakness with only a small mag. And for me, one of the frustrating things about this gun, and the Turner as well, is getting outshot by the G43, which it always seems like at least one person is going to be using in any server. But I mean, that's a pretty small price to pay because, like I said, you can literally outshoot just about anyone else beyond hipfire range if you're good enough. And so, like I've said in previous videos about the Turner, with this gun you'll probably want to run with the 2x aperture sight most of the time, but as you'll see in this video, it also works pretty well with the 3x and even irons as well. Now, as for specializations, well, unlike the Turner, there isn't really much of a choice with this gun because it doesn't come stock with detachable mags, and you're gonna want to make sure you hit that option. And so, as you can see, that usually means that I run all the way down the left-hand side, which as well also hits the CQB options, which is good for the kind of ranges this gun is suited to. If you do want to go for a more strictly long-range setup, though, then you'll want to run down the right-hand side. But honestly, I don't think this is ever a really good idea, because I think really the only option that's semi-useful on that side is probably lightened stock. And like I said before, that's not going to stop you from getting outshot at longer ranges by weapons, for example, like the G43. But anyway, to finish up, as for my top tips for this gun, well, just like with the Turner, you need to get to know what 50 meters looks like, and you need to try and stay under that range. But in saying that, you also don't want to get yourself into hipfire range if you can help it, because whether or not your gun does have the DPS to outshoot SMGs, they're always going to have the hipfire advantage. Most importantly, though, you've got to be conscious of your reloads. So, in other words, you've got to make sure that you're not going into gunfights with a half-full mag. And also just bear in mind that smaller mags means that you only start with about 44 rounds to begin with, so it's not a bad idea to head straight to an ammo box and grab that extra mag as soon as you spawn. But anyway, guys, I guess that just about wraps up this review. So, as always, make sure you let me know what you think of the MAS 44 in the comment section down below. And also, just remember, if there's a weapon that you'd like to see in particular next on this series, then let me know that down there as well, because often I will take suggestions on what you guys want to see. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you do want to see any more of these videos. And also, don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.